Protests in Poland, in France, a convoy. This Italian man says he's being strangled. For weeks, farmers across Europe have demonstrated.
People feel that there isn't really a voice for farming, an authentic voice for farming that has an influence in politics, both in the national governments and within the EU as well.
There are many causes in many countries. Most share the same concern. High taxes, high costs, and many regulations, some brought on by the push to reach zero emissions. Some Canadian farmers are watching closely.
There's no doubt, because it's sort of foreshadowing what's coming here, especially not necessarily the protests, but the environmental policy that they are protesting.
Canadian producers have called Ottawa's climate change policies too punitive, and perhaps mirroring European concerns, the federal Liberals have very little representation from rural ridings. So, could the protests spread to Canada?
When you look at things relative to the types of regulations that EU farmers are facing, it's not even in the same ballpark.
This professor says European farmers face orders of magnitude more rules than Canadians. And one big difference, the protests worked. EU lawmakers exempted the ag sector from the emissions reduction goals.
You won't see for a long time what you're really seeing in Europe.
Brussels will vote on the final measure in several months' time. And while some protests continue, they're mostly targeting regional issues. Skullrud says the disruptions offer a lesson for working with a carbon-intensive sector.
If we don't come up with a way to satisfy the needs of the farm sector, they're going to find themselves in the same place as the EU and Brussels is now.
Nathaniel Dove, Global News.